Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the second part of the third episode of Conspiracy Synergy. I'm your host, T. Snyder, and as always, thank you for tuning in and for taking the time to delve into relevant controversy and actually really real conspiracy. Like the stuff that's actually really happening and that we can prove and that we have proven and that we're just trying to explain to people so that they'll understand that this is actually what's going on right now. I'm not out here like making shit up, writing a bunch of fucking like hypotheses about things that I just happen to believe. Not interested in that. I'm more all like, okay, everybody, can we please just get on the same page about some things? Because if we get on the same page about some things, we're going to stop fighting with each other all the time, and then we're going to stop hating each other all the time, and then this pandemic isn't going to suck quite so much. Because I swear to God, it's like half of this thing is just a pandemic of people being shitty, you know? And I'm shitty. I'm shittier. I am shittier since this whole thing started. Which sucks, you know? It's like, I'm trying to like grow from this whole thing, but it's like, oh, I'm tired of growing. Just be over already. So, believe me, people, okay. So anyway, this episode is the one in which I'm going to try and surmise the whole spectrum of what is going on with COVID. Last episode, first part of this episode, I went into modern medical science and toxins in our environment, which are very important to understand, to contextualize the stage of where we're at right now with COVID. And so what I'm going to try and do in order to, let's say, spread the word, is to take myself, as represented by this cute little white rabbit here, around the game board, and I'm going to go from house to house and place to place, and on bit by bit and slowly and surely, I'm going to try and convince the town folk to at least listen to me. So, let's all start trying to talk to each other again about all this stuff we're fighting about each other all the time with by reviewing the different perspectives that we all have on masks. So when it comes to the conversation about masks, holy fuck. Wow. That goes pretty far, you know? Like, what's really interesting and really awful is that from a peer review perspective, they don't work. They don't. So the idea of mandating them is appalling. The idea of hurting other people because they don't wear the equivalent of a few layers of toilet paper wrapped around their head is the very definition of absurdity and insanity. And you might say, well, it only takes a few swabs of toilet paper to wipe your ass. Well, it takes a hell lot more than that to keep your ass from expelling gas. Keeping the shit from getting on shit. Yeah, that's why they're used in the operating room, to keep things fucking sterile, so that shit doesn't get on shit. But the gas coming out of that ass, no, man. Toilet paper's not going to stop it. It's going everywhere. Same deal with this virus. It's the same thing that's coming out of that ass, you know? So, mask, like, man, I'm really sorry, people who are just absolutely married to the idea of masks. I'm really sorry. I know, like, you know why you, like, here, okay, people who are totally, like, mask is a very important thing. I understand what that is. A lot of people have said, and a lot of people continue to say, that they genuinely do give you some layer of protection. And by giving you some layer of protection, that means that you are feeling safe, and you are feeling as if you are helping in an environment that makes you feel otherwise helpless. That's a very, very important feeling to feel when we're in a situation as overwhelming as this. So wearing a mask, like, to a lot of people, that idea, like, even just the idea of having the premise that if I do this, oh my God, I'm safer already. You know, it's like, oh, I did it. I'm safer. You know? And we can, like, mock people for that. But death is fucking scary. It's fucking scary. What the fuck does it look like when a lot of people are afraid in a subtle way all the time? It looks like a lot of different people erupting in little ways. that all cumulatively kind of begin to build. And so something as simple as the idea of what is more or less equates to toilet paper over your face is funny for some people and the most offensive thing imaginable for other people. And that's just a tiny little piece of cloth. What about the bigger issues? Let's talk about lockdowns. So the idea here is simple. So simple that it traces back to a third place science fair win. Seriously, that's where the idea of lockdowns originates from. A father helping his kid get third place in a science fair. That's where lockdowns originate from. Anyway, that brilliant idea is as follows. Abruptly stop everything everywhere to make sure we keep the most people safe. And then, after locking everyone away, non-stop monitor everything forever. Why? Because safety. Safety is our number one concern here in Lockdown and Spy on the Population Land. Lockdown and spy on everything. One size fits all, one cure for everything, lock it down and then spy on it. Except, you know what's, there's a kind of little detail that's left out of that whole premise. Lockdowns kill people. We were told they save lives. No. Third place science experiment does not save lives. It's strictly theoretical. It's based on our estimates being the best guide, even though they've proven to be false, and we don't revise our estimates even though they've proven to be false. We just keep doing the same thing because we've convinced ourselves that it works no matter what. Because lockdowns really, really are not working. And they are hurting so many people that it's difficult to even begin to describe all of the harm that they're doing. They are, as we are all experiencing ourselves, not only suffocating people in the short term, but we're all slowly going bankrupt so that we all suffer a crushing economic demise, which only gets worse and worse and worse over time. This is one of those things where no matter how we felt about it, at one point in time, we need to sit down and revisit the idea in a very serious way and be honest about how much harm it has done. And that's very difficult to do when we're all fighting constantly about what it is to be safe right now and what that takes. So the people who need a mask and need a shelter and need a mask and a shelter on everyone, everywhere to feel safe, nothing but lockdowns will appease them. And to everybody else, that's such absurdity and insanity that it's delusional to bother to entertain. We're locking down healthy people under our fear that they might be sick. We've never done that before in history. And it's absurd to start doing that now. So that's pretty intense. So it isn't really easy overcoming a lot of the things we're fighting about. Some of them you can kind of joke about and you can make light of, but others are no joke. So okay. Let's try and keep looking at some of the things that we're all squabbling about and some of the things that are tearing us apart. Let's look at rules for thee, not for me. I don't even need to comment on this one. It's so in your face what's not on their faces. The people who set policies for other people do not themselves follow those policies, which isn't that big of a deal insofar as their own actions. Like, so what? They said one thing, they did another thing, so what? Well, the most important and revealing thing that this behavior shows, it's that even though, like, they're all telling us to be so concerned, they're not concerned. Now, I wonder if, like, on some level, maybe there's something that they know and understand behind the scenes that all of us, the townsfolk and the viewing public, haven't yet seen. I wonder if maybe there is something lurking around behind the scenes. Foreshadowing, just a little foreshadowing. Maybe it'll come up later. I don't know. Okay, so it seems as if there is, quite demonstrably, a degree of managing the public's view of all of this. The media often paints key issues strictly one way or the other, even though the truth is often more nuanced and lies somewhere in between. And because of the simple way things are presented to the wee townsfolk, people intuitively choose extreme sides, assuming that the situation is much more simple than it really is. So it makes sense that we'd all be divided right now. Like, add partisanship to all of that? And corporate media censorship, branding reality based on taste rather than truth? And it's a tragic recipe for constant public discourse. And it doesn't stop there, townsfolk. Because moving forward past this point is where we venture out of what we all see differently to take a closer look-see at what none of us are supposed to see lurking behind the scene. Let's talk about the PCR test and the rampant medical fraud that is happening right now because of this particular test being used to do something that even its inventor didn't want it used for. This is the creator of the PCR test. He was a fucking awesome dude who understood just how tragically broken modern science is. Even he says that the PCR tests are more meant to magnify material, not to definitively test for a cause of a disease or the likelihood that a person will be adversely affected by having a virus present in their system. Add to that already shaky ground the fact that Fauci here himself knows that if the PCR test is run above 35 cycles of magnification, it spits out a huge number of false positives. This is why you'll see entire sports teams receive positives only then to receive negatives. You'll see things like Elon Musk getting 4 tests in one day, 2 positive and 2 negatives. One nostril being tested positive and the other nostril being tested negative. Or, for the most glaring example of how unreliable these things are, you'll see the president of Tanzania test a goat, a papaya, and a tire, and even have some of those tests come back positive for COVID. And this statistical distortion of a variety of testing failures across the globe right now, it's getting pretty out of hand. Some regulative bodies have determined that it's best to run this test above 35 cycles, sometimes going all the way up to 40 cycles. So what does that mean in layman's terms? The test is between 80% to 97% inaccurate. So everyone who's using case numbers of positive diagnosis of COVID as the pretense for making arguments about how bad things are or trying to stop the spread, sorry, the numbers aren't accurate at all. Like, what the fuck is going on with that? Shouldn't these people know better? Don't these people know better? Oh yeah, they do. And yet, there's something else is going on here. Not sure what it is yet, but there's something like creeping around the corners. Okay, so add to this already ominous list of questionable shit the fact that many hospitals are receiving federal funding based on how they handle or respond to COVID cases, adjusting death certificates and the number of positive diagnoses in order to receive more federal funding. This literally means that not only are there huge numbers of false positives, there's also a very real spike in recorded deaths attributed to COVID too. So all those worst days in history days that are being reported because of COVID? No, not necessarily. It is every bit as likely that it was a normal daily death toll inflated by federal funds, and anyone who happened to have any COVID symptoms at all being diagnosed as if they either had COVID, were somehow a case of COVID because they had symptoms related to COVID, or if they happened to die from anything, to have that death attributed to COVID. When really, they were either sick or experiencing symptoms or happened to die during our very real and very panicked and very disoriented COVID hysteria. The public image is one way, while a much more complicated reality remains hidden behind the scenes, which is all very, very strange. I mean, I know things are bad. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that, isn't it interesting that there's also statistical fraud, death certificate manipulation, glaring media bias, and incorrect case numbers, and entire multi-million-dollar field hospitals closing down because they didn't have any patients at all, while at the same time they were supposedly built to handle the overflow of patients. Okay, but if the media isn't accurately representing reality right now, which, to be fair, is pretty difficult to do because it's pretty complicated, but at the same time, they're not accurately representing this. It only gets out in little blips, and it doesn't make it into the public feelings, you know? Because we're given feelings by the news. Not just information, we're given feelings. And it seems like, even with all this going on, the thing we're being told is to stay afraid. So doesn't that mean that the media is actively distributing propaganda in an emotional way by not updating our awareness of all of these mitigating variables that make it so that the crisis we're experiencing right now actually isn't as bad as we're all feeling that it is? Why is the media actively distributing emotional propaganda? Which to a lot of people sounds kind of like fantastical and made up, right? But it's already happening. And that's why it's very important to remember that this cumulative clusterfuck situation we're in, all of these ominous overlapping events spread out across society, billion-dollar interest and distortions of information presented to the public, not only has this sort of convergent psychological warfare crisis happened many times in the past, but also hidden behind the scenes of all the shit we're currently seeing unfold before us, there is an entire class of ultra-rich people whose entire lives and livelihoods utterly depend on making this crisis even worse, very, very intentionally. Social engineers are the richest and most powerful of all of the rich and powerful people. And social engineers, they use mass tragedy as a way to grab the steering wheel of history. You can describe this sort of power dynamic between we the people and the assholes who use tragedy to steer we the people as problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialectic, the shock doctrine, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, whatever terminology you use. The idea is simple, and it's been used to control citizens throughout all of history. And that's happening right now. And yet, so many people are so afraid that they'll still go along with it because it's like they're thinking on behalf of other people's safety. And to people who are thinking this is just other people's safety, it's like, oh my God, of course you have to do what you're told in order to be able to make sure that other people are safe. That's just being a good person. And so it's a really tough place we find ourselves in emotionally. Social engineers know and understand those empathetic threads of people. And so part of the idea of using tragedy in the Hegelian dialectic to manipulate people in the steering wheel of history is to understand human emotion as a resource. It can be tapped into, it can be mined, it can be undermined, it can be harvested, it can be bled. And we're bleeding right now. And if people don't understand that that's going on, whoo, then we leave ourselves so much more susceptible to it. And yet the way in which I describe this shit right now, like the idea of like some giant Goliath that, oh my god, it's coming for us, what the fuck? That scares so many people away, just in its concept, that they don't want to fight. Okay, so who or what is it specifically that we all need to stand up against and stop right now? Godzilla? We're not actually going to have to, fight Godzilla, are we? No. The sort of evil asswipes we, the townsfolk, are up against, who are currently pulling the strings of the largely owned and controlled corporate media outlets, aren't, they aren't themselves giant monsters. But they are real-life monsters. Kind of like Bond villains or Austin Power villains. They're like that. How do I, a lowly peasant, know all of this? Well, townsfolk, wouldn't you know it? These arrogant fucking billionaire assholes literally openly brag about the shit that they do to ruin the world. They don't just talk about it, they brag about it. It's not even a secret what these assholes are up to. It's not even a secret what assholes these assholes are. It's a glaring and appalling business model that used to be a secret. The very public plan to reset the economy and to re-engineer all of humanity. The Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Great Reset. It's these policies and evil philosophies that we're up against. These assholes. So what are they? Basically, they're both PR campaigns for globalist agendas that have been planned for a very long time. The Great Reset, just for starters, the idea is to completely redesign the entire system of commerce all over the world, even if it's not ultimately what we want. So the Great Reset, is a concept that will be used to create a reality that ultimately doesn't help people in the long run. It helps corporations control people. That's what the agenda is. It's big. It's a big agenda. It's not a tiny little thing where you're just oh, what is it? It's 50 million things under one umbrella. It's rich social engineer assholes building elaborate systems of control to control how life works for poor people. Now, for the record, this has been a long time coming. It's an evolving agenda that has been around for a very long time, and it has been handed down from one social engineer asshole class of social engineer assholes to the next social engineer asshole class of social engineer assholes. It is the rebranded, long-standing, billionaire agenda to rule over and control every single aspect of all life on this planet. Just like the New World Order before it, or technocracy before that. And they've been waiting for the right crisis to show its head so that they could reveal it to the people and be all oh, hey, we just had this solution lying around, global control of everything. Hey, well, how about we try this solution that we had, global control? And the only reason we haven't all heard about it is because those same wannabe Bond villains own all of the media that we would turn to for our information on the Bond villain level of the world. Most of us don't see that. We walk around, it's oh, there's that place I get tacos. We're not exactly thinking of what billionaires are doing right now. This is what they're doing. It's uncomfortable. They're more about trying to rule the world and less about oh, do I get discount cheese this Tuesday? If you're thinking about discount cheese this Tuesday, your frame of thinking doesn't really jive with billionaires. So the Fourth Industrial Revolution, it's all about the idea of removing everything that we previously thought of humanity as, and instead integrating human beings with machines incrementally more and more, moving into the future, while simultaneously changing all of society to be more compatible with that soon-to-be unfolded corporate machinery. Literal Terminator stuff. Swabbity-ass's book here on these subjects presents both the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution as futuristic utopias ushered into existence by social engineers in a way that benefits all of society. This is not true, by the way. Like, not even a little bit. The underlying premise of the true concept that underlies all of this is as follows. Are people individual sovereign beings with rights of their own, or are people merely resources to be used at the discretion of those who have been elevated to a point in society where they're able to decide how to use other people by using very large policies that we're not given a choice about? I personally don't see life that way. But billionaires have a tendency to go insane and start to see we townsfolk as if we're their property. And people will fall for it because for the most part they're more about branding than they are about understanding. Oh, man. So anyway, I cannot stress this enough. I'm not making this shit up. This is something very influential people have been talking about for a very, very, very long time, only it hasn't really been public conversation till now. So those of us who knew about all this stuff before it was rebranded, we're just like, holy shit, people. It's very important that you understand what this is. But then we talked about it, and people are like, oh, you're just trying to turn something good into something bad. So it's a sketchy situation we're all in right now. And this swabbity ass motherfucker that has been slowly conjuring this kind of bullshit into existence for a very long time now. Remember, folks, he's just a fucking butthole butler. The real big league buttholes, then they're hidden inside of this giant pineapple, and it is their dark side Padawan that has brought this endless epidemic, biosecurity state down upon us all. I have no doubt that the majority of the people who work within these various organizations, those people have absolutely no idea about the often sinister motivations of billionaires that use these sorts of organizations as versatile puppets to do their bidding with. You know, like, that's on a level higher up than most people who are just trying to do their job. And this is true in a variety of different institutions. In the same way, I have no doubt that many people smiling on the news don't like reporting on the Great Reset or the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Those people have no idea about the deeper layers of all of this that have led up to it emerging in the way that it is. You know? And at the exact same time, front-end workers, they're in a position where they've been foisted with an impossible situation that they're all just trying to get through. And for the most part, even the front-end workers don't know about this level of corruption and deceit either. We, the townsfolk, have all been lied to for so long about how all of these things work. It doesn't seem like a lie. It just seems normal. As we all endure COVID-1984, we try and keep smiling as if we're all in this together. But we're not. We're not all in this together. There are very real, very sinister, and very powerful forces converging behind the scenes of what we are being shown in an attempt to mold and model our very perception of what's happening around us. To use our emotions, our deepest fears, as a resource against us to control us and how we feel and respond to tragedy. Unless we stop it. Like, what? We stop it? I'm sitting here eating, like, Fruit Loops or something. Probably, I don't know. Don't eat Fruit Loops. Or whatever it is you're doing. This idea of us, we as the individuals, or each of us on an individual basis being a significant contributor to the changing of the future, I don't know if most people go about it in that way, or if they're just trying to make it through their day by day. But I think that where we're moving doesn't really require those sort of monumental sacrifices to the same degree as they once did. For some people, yeah, and that's incredible. But for others, it could just be a mild contribution or speaking up at an important moment in time. And those mild contributions, if a lot of people are doing them, they're not that mild. And the really incredible thing about it is that the more you remind people of that, the more they get inspired to remember that that's the way change actually happens. It's not this grandiose idea of some Marvel hero coming to save us. It really is us people remembering and reminding each other of the power that we have as we're preyed upon by a class of people who understand how to use our emotions against us so that we suffer so much it's like we can't get through. Because it's been planned unbeknownst to us as we were distracted for good reason, just trying to get by in very, very hard times. But the future isn't going to look like that. It's not. What we're going to be able to change and the opportunity that comes after this tragedy is an entire spectrum of things beyond the realm of imagination to so many people who bought the lies. And it's like John Rappaport says, he talks about it and he says, hopelessness isn't up and it's worldwide. The idea of trying to teach you not to stand up, not to speak out in that important moment. And there's a most beautiful, poignant metaphor of what that is. The reservations that we have as people right now, not to go out there and to fight those fights. Because it's hard sometimes, even just to stand up. That can be difficult, very difficult, especially if you've been through some shit. So I think, like, the story of learned helplessness, here's what I mean by that. What learned helplessness is, and how that's very much a part of where we're at as people right now. So in Thailand, the practice of this is diminishing. But the way in which it used to be done, an elephant is conditioned to be servant, to be docile, and to be manageable as a resource, is to beat the living fucking shit out of it, to traumatize an elephant until you break its will. And in addition to that, you slowly get it used to certain ideas. It sleeps with heavy chains over it so that it can't get up, no matter what it does. And as that conditioning continues and the will is broken more and more, you can reduce those chains that are holding a full-grown elephant down. Full-grown elephant could potentially have something draped over it that it could just stand up and rip right out. But its will is so broken that even the idea of standing up seems impossible. And the reality is that if you do this enough and it's bad enough, you can suspend or like keep down a full-grown elephant just by draping a piece of dental floss across it. Because that's the pain in the mind of the creature who has endured what it has endured at the hands of people who know how to torture an animal to keep it down. That's where we are right now. So, I wish you could kind of like whisper in the ear of a full-grown elephant and say, stand up. Freedom is yours to take, But when we're losing everything, some, sometimes getting that message across is the most painful thing. Stand up. It's not as hard as it feels, even when it feels like it is. And that's where we're at right now in history. Moving forward to a better future where that message got across. And this motherfucking COVID 1984 goddamn bullshit. It's not some new fucking normal crap where we just accept it. It's a better future where we're not beaten into submission anymore. So as always, thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it.